Hi everybody, I'm Mario Wezel. I'm a documentary photographer from Germany, and today I'm gonna talk to you about my new book, which is called The End of Immortality, or in German, Das Ende der Unsterblichkeit. It's a book that was published by Fotohof Edition in November 2023, and it contains images and texts from my first year as a father. When I became a father 6 years ago, this first year was really the most troubling in a way. Not just in a negative way, but in a way that many things that I had kind of taken for granted before just showed to not be true anymore. There were many things that changed, including my kind of understanding of the relationship to my partner, the idea of mortality, and also this kind of idea of what home is or how to create one. And those kind of three themes linger throughout the book on and off. And I'm trying with the photographs have additional texts to kind of underline this emotional transition that I went through. I didn't really start this with the idea of creating kind of a bigger project about fatherhood or to talk about my transition into fatherhood. It was really more kind of this really honest gut feeling that I had back then that I didn't really understand what was happening at the time. And I felt that taking photographs helped me to pinpoint a few things in this kind of new role, in this new everyday life. And also, one very good friend of mine, Casper Peltnoff, back then suggested to me, why don't you just, if you don't find the emotional space or time, why don't you just write a diary? And I did, and it was really a great help for me in those first months. And I almost sat down every night to write things that had happened throughout the day or thoughts that had kind of popped into my head throughout these days. And both the images and the text ended up in the book that was designed by ITYT in Hanover. And the process was a really important one, to have someone else have a second and a third eye on the material, which is so personal and private at times too. And we kind of aimed to create a publication that was both a personal account of someone becoming a new father, but still was kind of talking about the broader idea of what fatherhood could look like today. And we worked with both the images and the texts, but we separated both of it. If you get the book, you will get both of these objects, and they belong together, although they have separate kind of visible appearances. They absolutely belong together. They can be read by themselves. I think just taking the diary text and reading through them gives you an idea of kind of this emotional world that I was going through. And the images, use their own way of talking about similar things. But I never really wanted the diary texts to be subtitles to the to the photographs, and therefore we decided to really kind of separate it and have the reader kind of invite them to enjoy the work through like a visual world, but also through a text-based world. The three pillars of the work that I kind of briefly touched upon are really kind of building the work. This idea and this notion of where home is and how to build a home was for me something that I had really thought a lot about in this first year. Then this kind of looking at the relationship to my partner and seeing how it changed and seeing how it changed us, but also seeing how my perception of what love is or what love was supposed to be before we had a child was this really big journey that I think we're still on right now, and that is still kind of evolving in terms of how you relate to one another and how you kind of can find common space in both an emotional and physical spaces together as a couple. And then seeing my parents kind of entering this new role of becoming grandparents really triggered me in this way that suddenly the fact that a new life had come into our world made all of us who had already been there move one step further in this kind of game of life. So suddenly I'm not the child anymore, but I'm a parent, and my parents are the grandparents, and we all kind of move closer to our own mortality in a way. And before becoming a father, I never really had this thought that kind of this positive thing of a new life could somehow take us on this inward journey towards death and mortality. And in general, I think with the book, one thing that I've really been kind of aiming for was to kind of find this balance that I'm often missing when parenthood or fatherhood in particular are spoken about in public. I feel like there's often this tendency of underlining the beautiful and positive sides of it, of trying to kind of represent it in this way, and it's something that has always kind of been represented in that way. If you look at how women have been portrayed, often by men, breastfeeding their children, Holy Mother Mary breastfeeding the kid in this kind of beautiful, clean and very calm way. This whole kind of image, I think, is something that needs to be redone, and there's many female artists who have worked on that for the last century, and who I admire deeply for the work that they've been doing. And I felt that there were just not enough voices from a father's perspective within all of kind of this topic of how parenthood is represented. And therefore I felt like I wanted to add something to that discussion of what it means for me as a father to become a parent, and just to talk about all these bordering issues that I just kind of briefly touched upon. We did a special edition with the book that was released in June, which contains one signed book and 3 beautiful limited prints that were done by Photohof. And in September of this year, we will be at Unseen Amsterdam and present the book even more. So if you're around, I would love to get in touch. And thanks so much for listening and taking the time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.